Something impossible is happening. And it begins with a voice Claire never thought she would hear again. A voice from a time she believed was gone forever. As the wind rises across the Scottish hills, one message becomes clear. Outlander. Season 8 is not just a return. It is a storm that will shake every memory, every promise, and every heart. Claire stands alone near the edge of the old stone circle, her eyes fixed on the silent stones that once changed her life. The air feels heavier than usual, almost as if the past is trying to breathe again. She takes a slow step forward, and for a moment, she feels as if someone is standing behind her. Someone she once lost. Someone she never expected to feel this close again. The strange pull of the place reminds her of all the pain and all the love tied to this land. It is a place where time bends, life twists, and fate rewrites itself. At the same time in the Fraser home, Jamie senses something restless in Claire's voice. She tries to hide it, but he sees it in her eyes. He knows that look. The look Claire gets only when something deep inside her is calling out. Jamie walks toward her, touches her hand, and waits for her to speak. But Claire remains silent, unsure if the thing she felt is real or just a cruel trick of memory. They both know the stones have taken and returned many lives, but this time it feels different. This time, the feeling brings fear, hope, and disbelief all at once. News begins to spread across the ridge. Strange whispers are carried by travelers. Some claim to have seen a man who looks like someone from the Fraser past, someone who should not be alive. Others speak of signs, footprints where no one walked, shadows that move without a source, and a voice calling a familiar name. Claire tries to ignore the rumors, but deep inside she knows it could mean something far bigger than just a wandering stranger. She knows the stones sometimes allow the impossible, and if this return is real, it could change the future again. Jamie warns Claire not to trust every rumor, but even he cannot hide the worry in his voice. He remembers their past battles, the pain of losing loved ones, and the fear of time tearing families apart. If someone is returning, it may not come with peace. It may bring danger, danger that follows the person across timelines. And Jamie knows that anyone who crosses time leaves behind enemies, secrets, and wounds that never truly heal. One night, Claire hears it again. The same soft voice near the doorway. She turns quickly, expecting to find no one. But instead, she sees a shadow, a familiar outline of someone she thought she had buried in her memories. Her heart freezes. Her hands shake. She whispers the name, unsure if she is dreaming or awake. The shadow steps forward, and Claire's breath stops. Jamie rushes in, hearing Claire's gasp. He stops at the doorway, unable to speak. The fire crackles in the background as both of them stare at the figure in front of them. A figure who should not exist in their time. A figure who carries a look of pain, fear, and a secret too heavy to hold. The emotional return is real. But the moment is cut short when the figure collapses, leaving Claire and Jamie shocked and terrified. Something follows him. Something dangerous. And whatever it is, it has only just begun. The quiet night at the ridge is broken by the sound of hurried footsteps and distant echoes. Claire kneels beside the mysterious man who collapsed in their home. His breathing is weak, his clothes torn, and his skin marked with deep bruises. Claire's hands tremble as she examines him, not because of fear, but because every inch of him feels like a ghost dragged back from time. Jamie stands behind her, trying to keep the room calm, but the tension is heavy. Something dangerous has crossed into their world, and it is clear this man did not come alone. Claire can feel it, even without words. The man's wounds tell a story. The cuts are not from normal weapons. They look like marks from another time. She tries to clean one of the deeper wounds, but he suddenly grips her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes fly open, wild with fear. He whispers a name Claire does not understand, a name that sends a chill through the room. Before she can ask anything, he slips back into unconsciousness. His fear is louder than his words, and Claire realizes this is not just a return, it is a warning. Jamie steps outside for a moment to breathe, but the cold air brings no calm. He hears whispers again, soft, distant, almost like someone calling through the wind. He turns sharply, but the path behind him is empty. Only the trees move, shifting in a way that feels unnatural. He senses danger in the air. Something is watching, waiting, ready to strike when the moment is right. Jamie clenches his fists, realizing this new threat may be unlike anything their family has faced. The ridge wakes with worry, as news spreads that Claire and Jamie have taken in a stranger. Some villagers warn them to be careful. They speak of strange events happening recently, animals disappearing, fires burning in places no one went, and people seeing figures in the woods that vanish like smoke. These signs grow darker each day. Claire listens carefully, knowing that every story might be a piece of the puzzle. Jamie, however, understands something else. Fear is spreading, and once fear takes root, the ridge becomes an easy target for anyone hiding in the shadows. Back inside, the stranger begins to whisper again. His voice cracks with pain, but his message is clear enough for Claire to catch pieces. He speaks of someone hunting him, someone who knows about the stones, and knows how to use them. Claire's heart races. If someone has learned to travel through time with purpose, especially for revenge or power, it could endanger every timeline connected to them, including Brianna and Roger's world. Later that night, the man wakes fully for a brief moment. His eyes meet Claire's, and there is recognition. Fearful, desperate recognition. He reaches for her with trembling hands and manages to speak a single, shaking sentence. "They followed me here, and they won't stop." Claire feels her heart sink. Those few words confirm her darkest fear. Whoever came after him may now be in their time, watching from the darkness, waiting for the right moment to attack. Jamie enters the room, and the man flinches, as if expecting violence. Claire places a calming hand on the man's shoulder. Jamie kneels, trying to show he means no harm. The stranger looks at both of them and struggles to whisper one last warning. "Protect the circle, or everything ends." His voice fades, and he collapses again, unconscious and shaking. Claire and Jamie exchange a terrified look. What does he mean? Protect it from who? And how did he escape a threat strong enough to cross time? Jamie closes the door and stands guard, refusing to leave Claire alone. But even with Jamie beside her, Claire cannot shake the feeling that someone, or something, is already near the ridge, watching, hiding, waiting. The whisper of danger grows stronger, and the mystery deepens. This new enemy is not just here for the stranger, it is here for something far more powerful, something that connects all their timelines. And Claire knows, the worst is yet to come. Claire wakes before sunrise, unable to rest. The stranger's warning echoes in her mind again and again. Protect the circle, or everything ends. She steps outside, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders as the early light settles over the land. The stone circle has always been a place of mystery and danger, but never before has she felt its pull this strongly. The wind moves through the trees as if carrying messages from another time. Claire watches the horizon and wonders if destiny is opening a new door, one she is not ready to walk through. Inside the house, Jamie studies the stranger's torn clothes and broken belongings. He tries to understand who this man really is. A soldier? A traveler? A victim? Every clue leads to more confusion. A small metal piece falls from the stranger's pocket. Jamie picks it up and realizes it doesn't belong to this time at all. The design is strange, too sharp, too modern. Jamie frowns, understanding that the man might have come from somewhere ahead of Claire's original time. This means the threat is not just from the past, it also comes from the future. Claire returns inside and carefully checks the stranger's wounds again. As she works, she feels a sudden spark of emotion, a sense of déjà vu, something connected to her own journey through the stones. She wonders if the man is here because of a mistake she made long ago, or a decision she could not avoid. Every timeline touches another, and every choice she makes ripples across years. For the first time in a long while, Claire feels afraid of destiny itself. As the stranger slowly wakes, Claire leans close, hoping he will reveal something useful. His voice is weak, but his eyes speak louder. They carry fear, loss, and a desperate need to be heard. He whispers about an enemy who can sense time shifts, someone who hunts people like him, and maybe even people like Claire. Claire freezes. If someone knows about her, then every moment she traveled through time might have left a mark for this enemy to follow. She wonders if this threat has been chasing her for years without her knowing. Her heart tightens as she remembers all the times she stood before the stones, how every step changed her world and the people she loved. Now, she feels something she has never admitted openly, a fear that she might not be able to protect everyone forever. Jamie enters the room and sees the worry in her eyes. He places a gentle hand on her shoulder. Claire tries to smile, but her fear is too strong to hide. Jamie understands without her needing to speak. He reminds her that they have survived war, loss, heartbreak, and time itself. But this time, Claire isn't sure survival will be enough. Outside, the ridge becomes unusually quiet. Even the animals seem restless, sensing danger before humans can. A group of villagers arrives at Claire and Jamie's home with warnings of strange figures at the forest edge. They describe shadows that move where no one stands, voices calling out names in the dark, and footsteps that disappear when followed. Claire listens carefully, feeling a cold dread spreading through her. These are not normal sightings. Something has crossed into their world, and it is closing in. Claire returns to the stranger, determined to understand his message. He gathers enough strength to speak clearly for a moment. He tells Claire that the enemy he escaped from is driven by obsession, an obsession with controlling all timelines. He says this enemy wants something that belongs to Claire, something she does not even know she carries. Claire's heart races. She asks what that thing is, but the man coughs violently and cannot finish. Claire holds his hand until he settles again, but the fear inside her grows. She walks outside to clear her mind, but instead finds something far more unsettling. Near the woods, she sees a mark on the ground, deep, sharp, almost like a burning imprint. The shape is unfamiliar, but the message is clear. Whoever crossed through time is close, dangerously close. Jamie joins her, and the two stand silently, both realizing the truth. This enemy is not just chasing the stranger. It is searching for Claire. And now that the path to their time has opened, closing it may require more strength than either of them has ever needed before. Claire feels the weight of destiny pressing against her. She knows the circle of stones is calling again, but this time it is not calling her alone. It is calling everyone she loves into a battle she fears they may not win. The winds rise, the earth trembles faintly, and Claire understands the painful truth. The fight with fate has begun again. And this time, the danger is unlike anything she has ever faced. Jamie stands at the doorway long after the sun has gone down, watching the dark woods with silent worry. The ridge feels different tonight, heavier, as if the land itself is preparing for something it cannot avoid. Claire walks beside him, knowing he is hiding a thought he has carried for years. She feels it in his voice, in the way he touches her hand, in the way he looks at the horizon, as if expecting someone to appear. Claire gently asks what is troubling him, but Jamie hesitates. He has faced war, loss, and betrayal, yet this truth is one he has never dared to speak. Finally, Jamie steps away from the doorway and sits near the fire. The flames reflect in his eyes, revealing a pain buried deep inside. Claire sits across from him, waiting patiently. Jamie takes a long breath before he begins to speak. He tells Claire there is something he has never shared with her, something he has known since the day he first saw her near the stones. He felt something strange that day, something that told him Claire was not born in his world. He had accepted her story, but deep inside, he always felt there was more to her arrival than she ever realized. It was as if the stones chose her for a reason far bigger than love or destiny. Claire listens, surprised but not angry. Jamie continues, explaining that during one of the battles long ago, he met a man who spoke in words too strange for his time. A man who claimed he had once crossed the stones too. Jamie never believed him fully, but the man said something Jamie has never forgotten. The one who crosses time carries the key to another storm. At that moment, Jamie thought it was nonsense, but now, after seeing the stranger collapse in their home, he wonders if that old warning was real. Claire feels a shiver run down her spine. She asks Jamie why he never told her before. Jamie looks down, ashamed. He admits he didn't want Claire to feel like she was being hunted by fate. He wanted her to feel safe with him. He feared that if she knew someone had warned him long ago, she might blame herself for every danger that followed them. Claire reaches for his hand, and the two sit in silence, understanding each other's fear. Their love has survived time's cruelty, yet this truth makes their world even more fragile. Before they can speak further, the stranger inside the house begins to shout in his sleep. Claire rushes to him. He thrashes violently, calling out the name of his enemy, begging for the circle to be protected. His voice breaks with terror, and Claire holds him until he calms. When his breathing steadies, he looks at Claire with exhausted eyes. He confesses the truth Jamie feared to reveal. The enemy he fled from has been searching for Claire for years. Not by name, not by face, but by the energy she carries from crossing the stones. She is a beacon, he says. A living signal to anyone who knows how to track the flow of time. Claire feels her heart sink. Jamie steps closer, his jaw tight with anger and fear. The stranger explains that the enemy wants access to the stones, and Claire is the only one who can open the path fully. Without her, the enemy is trapped. With her, every timeline becomes vulnerable. Jamie clenches his fists, furious that Claire has been in danger without knowing it. Claire tries to breathe calmly, but the truth feels like a weight crushing her chest. The stranger continues, telling them that the enemy has crossed into many timelines, destroying families, erasing histories, and controlling people who fear the unknown. Claire realizes the danger is far greater than she imagined. It is not just about their lives now. It is about every life connected to the stones, every future born from the choices they made. She looks at Jamie and feels the fear rise again. Fear of losing him, fear of losing her family, fear of becoming the reason their world collapses. Jamie tries to reassure her, but before he can speak, a loud crack echoes outside. It sounds like a branch snapping under heavy weight. Claire freezes. Jamie grabs his weapon and moves silently to the window. In the distance, near the tree line, a figure stands completely still. The moonlight reveals nothing but a tall shadow, watching their home with chilling patience. It does not move, but the stillness is more frightening than movement. Claire steps closer to Jamie. The stranger on the bed whispers, "He's here." Jamie tightens his grip. Claire feels her heart pounding. The shadow remains in place, waiting for the right moment to strike. And in that moment, Claire and Jamie both understand. This is not a simple enemy. This is a hunter who has crossed time itself to find her, and the real battle is about to begin. Far across the ridge, the night grows colder as Brianna and Roger sit beside their small fire, unaware of the danger closing in on Claire and Jamie. Their children sleep peacefully inside the cabin, but Brianna feels uneasy. She keeps glancing at the doorway, sensing a disturbance in the air, a strange pulse that she has not felt since the stones last called to her. Roger notices her worry and asks what is troubling her. Brianna hesitates, trying to understand the feeling before explaining it. She describes a soft ringing in her ears, almost like a vibration running through time itself. Roger listens carefully. He knows Brianna is not imagining things. The stones have always had a strange connection to her, and whenever something shifts in the timeline, she feels it first. As the fire crackles, Brianna suddenly stands up, her heart pounding. She turns toward the east, toward the land where the stone circle sits hidden in the hills. Roger follows her gaze but sees nothing unusual. Still, Brianna whispers that someone has crossed through time again. She feels it deep within her, like a ripple cutting across the years. Roger steps closer and gently holds her shoulders. He has felt these ripples before too, but this one feels stronger, heavier, almost dangerous. Brianna explains that the last time she felt such a disturbance was before they were pulled apart by time. Roger's expression changes. He realizes that what Brianna feels might be connected to Claire and Jamie. He suggests they travel to the ridge in the morning, but Brianna shakes her head slowly. She feels something urgent, something that cannot wait. She insists they leave now. As they prepare to go, Jemmy and Mandy wake up, frightened by a deep rumble that shakes the ground softly. Roger calms them, but he also feels a cold fear spreading through his chest. Time is shifting again, and it is affecting the world around them. He knows this is no ordinary movement. Something powerful has returned, something dangerous enough to shake the timeline from within. They gather their things quickly, and Brianna tells Jemmy to hold Mandy tightly as they step outside into the night. The path toward the ridge feels longer than usual. The wind carries strange echoes, whispers that seem to repeat their names, fading before they can understand them. Brianna keeps looking over her shoulder, convinced someone is following. Roger tries to reassure her, but even he feels the presence behind them. They walk faster, their hearts racing, the children clinging to their parents' sides. Halfway down the path, Brianna stops suddenly. Roger turns back to her, confused, until he sees what she is staring at. On the ground lies a deep scorch mark, similar to the one Claire found earlier. The shape is sharp and unnatural, as if burned into the earth by something not from their time. Roger crouches down to inspect it, but the mark feels cold, not warm like a fresh burn. This means the enemy passed this way earlier, maybe minutes ago, maybe seconds. Brianna steps back, gripping her children tightly. She looks at Roger with fear in her eyes. She knows what this means. The enemy is not just searching for Claire. The enemy might also be searching for them. Their connection to the stones, their knowledge of time travel, their family ties, all of it makes them targets. Roger stands up and urges them to move quickly. They cannot afford to waste even a moment. As they continue toward the ridge, Brianna begins to feel sharp flashes of memory, glimpses of moments that never happened. She sees Jamie shouting her name in a place she has never visited. She sees Claire crying beside a stone. She sees Roger fighting a shadow she cannot identify. These visions come and go like broken pieces of another timeline. She grips her head, trying to steady herself. Roger rushes to help her, but Brianna insists she's fine. She explains that the timeline is shifting, not just bending, but breaking in flashes. They finally reach the edge of the ridge as dawn approaches. The sky glows faintly, and the air carries a tension so thick it feels impossible to breathe. Roger knocks loudly on Claire and Jamie's door, and when it opens, Claire's worried face confirms their fears. She tells them everything, about the stranger, the enemy, the warning. Brianna and Roger exchange terrified looks. They tell Claire about the scorch mark and the visions. Claire grows pale. The danger is bigger than any of them imagined. The stranger wakes again, and this time, his voice is clear enough for Brianna to hear. He stares directly at her and whispers something that makes her knees weaken. "They're coming for your children too." The room falls silent. Everyone feels the same cold fear. This battle is no longer just about the stones. It is about generations, and the enemy will not stop until every timeline is under its control. The ridge stands in a strange, heavy silence as morning light slowly spreads across the sky. Though the sun rises, the fear in the air only grows darker. Claire, Jamie, Brianna, Roger, and the children gather inside the house, each of them carrying their own worry. The stranger lies weak on the bed, but his eyes follow every sound, every movement, as if expecting the enemy to burst through the door at any second. Jamie stands by the window, watching the woods with sharp attention. He knows something is coming. He can feel it in the air, in the way the trees barely move, in the way even the birds stay silent. Claire walks to him, her voice low and filled with concern. Jamie admits he has never felt fear like this, not even in war. Because this time, the enemy is unknown, unseen, and ruthless. They are fighting someone who does not belong to the rules of their world or their time. Roger tries to distract Jemmy and Mandy with a simple story, but the children sense the tension. Jemmy looks toward the door and whispers that he heard footsteps outside. Roger freezes, glancing at Brianna, who immediately takes the children into her arms. Claire walks over and gently checks if the door is locked. Suddenly, the stranger speaks again, his voice trembling. If he finds the circle, everything ends. His warning fills the room with cold dread. Claire kneels beside him, demanding more answers. The stranger explains that the enemy does not simply want to control time. He wants to erase every timeline that stands in his way. For him, the stones are not a gift or a path. They are a weapon, a way to rewrite history. Claire realizes the truth. If this enemy gains full access to the stones, he could erase her meeting Jamie. He could erase Brianna's childhood. He could erase every memory, every love, every life shaped by their choices. Brianna steps forward, her hands shaking. She asks the stranger a question none of them are ready for. Why our family? Why us? The stranger's answer is soft, but filled with painful truth. He explains that their family has become a bridge between timelines. Claire's journey began it. Brianna and Roger's children carry the same energy. Their bloodline is what the enemy wants. The path to the stones responds to their voices, their emotions, their presence. If the enemy controls them, he controls everything. Jamie turns away, furious that fate has chosen his family as the center of this danger. He heads outside to take a closer look around the ridge, but before he takes 2 steps, Claire follows him. She refuses to let him face the danger alone. Together, they step onto the porch, scanning the forest. The air feels too still, as if the world is holding its breath. Then, a sudden gust of wind rushes through the trees, bending the branches violently. Jamie raises his weapon. Claire grabs his arm. The wind carries a low, echoing hum, almost like a cry from another time. They watch as a shadow flickers between the trees. It moves fast, too fast for any human. Claire's heart pounds. Jamie pulls her back inside, locking the door behind them. The stranger tries to sit up, urgency in his eyes. "You have to go to the circle," he insists. Claire shakes her head, saying it's too dangerous. But the stranger explains that the circle itself is shifting. The stones are reacting to the enemy's presence. If they do not reach the circle before he does, the path between worlds may crack open on its own. And once that happens, no one will be able to close it. Roger realizes what this means. They cannot hide. They cannot wait. They must act before the enemy does. Brianna feels fear grip her chest as she holds her children close. Roger promises he will protect them, but the truth is clear. If this battle reaches the stones, no one is safe. Jamie prepares supplies, weapons, and torches. Claire helps the stranger to his feet, even though he can barely stand. They need him, his knowledge, his warnings, and whatever strength he still has left. The journey to the circle will be dangerous, but staying here may be worse. Brianna and Roger gather blankets for the children and gear for the long walk ahead. Just before they leave, Mandy points toward the window and whispers, "Mama, he's here." Everyone freezes. The shadow stands just beyond the trees, closer than before, watching, waiting. A figure tall enough to touch the low branches, silent as stone. Jamie breathes deeply, forcing himself to stay calm. Claire feels her pulse racing, her hands trembling. Without another moment to waste, Jamie turns to everyone and says the words they all fear but know are true. "We must reach the stones. Now." The family steps outside, moving together into the unknown, with the enemy behind them and the trembling circle ahead. And every step they take carries the weight of their past and the fragile hope of their future. As the story moves forward, an emotional shift begins to unfold. The characters who once appeared confident now find themselves facing the consequences of their decisions. In this section, the narrative slows down, giving the audience a deeper look into each character's internal struggles. One character begins to question the choices they made, choices they believed would lead to happiness, but instead created tension and misunderstanding. Their silent regret, shown through subtle expressions and quiet moments, becomes the highlight of this part. The atmosphere turns heavier, not with dramatic outbursts, but with a quiet realization that things are no longer in their control. Meanwhile, another character, who has been observing everything from the background, finally understands the full impact of the unfolding situation. Their perspective adds a new emotional layer, revealing how even the strongest people can be shaken by unexpected events. The music softens, the dialogues become more heartfelt, and the story creates a space for the audience to feel the uncertainty, the guilt, and the longing carried by each character. By the end of this section, viewers are left wondering, will they finally speak their truth or allow silence to deepen the distance? Like, comment, and share if you were shocked by Mark S. and Mark Scout's encounter. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all Severance secrets and behind-the-scenes moments. Watch full video on my YouTube channel for the complete mind-blowing scene.